Lauren Thompson knelt on the concrete floor of Fort Bragg's indoor shooting range, her blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, as she swept spent brass casings into a dustpan. Around her, the Special Forces Qualification Course candidates were finishing their advanced marksmanship training, the sharp cracks of their rifles punctuating the afternoon air. At 30 years old, Lauren was just another civilian contractor in the vast ecosystem of America's largest Army base, invisible to the operators and instructors who focused on molding the next generation of Green Berets. Her job was simple: clean the ranges, replace targets, and stay out of the way. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that heroes come in the most unexpected forms, don't forget to subscribe. Thompson, we need Lane 7 cleared and reset in 10 minutes, called Sergeant Major Blackwood from the firing line. Colonel Hayes is bringing VIPs through for a demonstration at 1400 hours. Yes, Sergeant Major, Lauren replied, her voice quiet but clear as she quickened her pace, gathering the brass with practiced efficiency. Blackwood barely acknowledged her response, already turning his attention back to a candidate whose shooting stance needed correction. In the 3 months since Lauren had started working at the range, that was the extent of most of her interactions with the instructors: brief commands followed by immediate dismissal from their awareness. She was part of the background, like the targets themselves or the red safety flags that indicated a cold range. What no one at Fort Bragg knew, what Lauren had worked meticulously to hide, was that she had once stood on the other side of those firing lines. 5 years earlier, she had been Captain Lauren Thompson, one of only 3 women ever selected for Delta Force's operational support element, with 5 high-risk missions and a presidential unit citation that remained classified at the highest levels. The hands that now swept brass casings had once assembled precision rifles in total darkness, had once steadied a sniper scope during a hostage extraction in conditions so extreme that the operation had later been used as a case study at the Joint Special Operations Command. At 2:05 p.m., Lauren finished resetting the targets on Lane 7 and began collecting her cleaning supplies. The VIP tour was running late, which was typical for senior officer demonstrations. As she gathered her broom and dustpan, she noticed a small group entering the range. Colonel Hayes, whom she recognized from her infrequent encounters at the range, accompanied by 3 men in civilian business attire, and 1 woman whose bearing immediately marked her as military, despite her lack of uniform. Lauren kept her head down, focusing on her task as she had trained herself to do since leaving active duty. The less attention she drew, the better. Her new life depended on anonymity, on being forgettable. This is where our Special Forces candidates complete their advanced marksmanship qualification, she heard Colonel Hayes explaining to the visitors. They must demonstrate proficiency with multiple weapon systems under various conditions before proceeding to the next phase of selection. Lauren moved quietly toward the exit, her cleaning supplies in hand, when one of the civilian visitors spoke. "Colonel, what's the maximum effective range you train for in this facility?" The voice stopped Lauren mid-step. She knew that voice, the slight Midwestern accent, the precise diction. Without turning around, she could picture the face it belonged to. Daniel Westfield, former Deputy Director of the Joint Special Operations Command and the man who had personally recruited her for Delta Force's operational support element. "The indoor range is limited to 100 meters, Colonel Hayes was explaining, but candidates also train at our outdoor facilities where they engage targets out to 800 meters. Lauren resumed walking, more quickly now, hoping to exit before Westfield noticed her. She had almost reached the door when Hayes called out, "Thompson, hold up a moment." She stopped, her heart rate accelerating slightly as she turned to face the group. "Yes, sir?" "We need a demonstration target set up on Lane 4. Standard hostage scenario, if you would." "Right away, sir," Lauren replied, setting down her cleaning supplies and moving toward the target storage area, keeping her face angled away from Westfield. As she prepared the hostage target, a silhouette with both hostile and friendly zones marked for precision shooting, she could feel someone watching her. Looking up briefly, she met Westfield's gaze. For a moment there was no recognition in his eyes, just the casual assessment of someone watching a support staff member perform a routine task. Then something flickered across his face, a slight narrowing of the eyes, a tilt of the head. Lauren quickly finished setting up the target and sent it downrange to the 50-meter mark. "Target is ready, sir," she reported to Colonel Hayes before retrieving her cleaning supplies and heading for the exit. "Thank you, Mr. Fould," Westfield began, clearly trying to read her name tag. "Thompson," Hayes supplied. One of our range maintenance contractors. Lauren nodded politely without meeting Westfield's eyes and left the range, her pace measured despite the urge to run. Once outside, she leaned against the wall of the building, taking a deep breath to steady herself. 5 years of careful anonymity potentially compromised by a chance encounter. By 4:30 a.m., Lauren had finished her shift and was changing out of her work clothes in the small locker room reserved for civilian contractors. As she removed her long-sleeved rain shirt, the air conditioning raised goosebumps on her arms, highlighting the scar tissue that ran from her right shoulder down to her elbow, a souvenir from her last mission, when an extraction had gone catastrophically wrong. Below the scar, partially covered by it, was a small tattoo, the distinctive arrowhead symbol of Delta Force, with a date inscribed beneath it, 06/14/17, the date 3 of her teammates had not come home. Lauren quickly pulled on her civilian shirt, covering both the scar and the tattoo. She had just finished gathering her belongings when the locker room door opened and the woman from the VIP tour entered, the one whose military bearing had been evident despite her civilian clothes. "Excuse me," the woman said, "are you Lauren Thompson?" Lauren assessed the woman quickly. Mid-40s, athletic build, the subtle confidence of someone accustomed to command. "Yes," she replied cautiously. "Can I help you?" "Colonel Rebecca Winters, Joint Special Operations Command," the woman said, extending her hand. "I was hoping we could talk." Lauren shook the offered hand briefly, her mind racing through possibilities and escape routes. "I'm afraid I'm off duty now, Colonel. If this is about the range, you should speak with the facility manager." "This isn't about the range," Winters said, her voice lowering. "It's about Operation Kingfisher." The code name hit Lauren like a physical blow. Operation Kingfisher, the mission that had ended her military career, the mission that had cost 3 lives and left her with both physical and psychological scars that would never fully heal. "I don't know what you're talking about," Lauren said flatly, moving toward the door. Winters didn't step aside. "5 years ago, you were Captain Lauren Thompson, operational support for Delta's C Squadron. You were part of a 4-person team inserted into northern Syria to extract a high-value intelligence asset. The mission went sideways when your team encountered unexpected resistance. 3 operators were killed, and you were severely wounded while ensuring the asset's extraction." Lauren's expression remained carefully neutral, but her pulse had quickened. "I think you've confused me with someone else, Colonel." "I don't think so," Winters replied. "Daniel Westfield recognized you today. It took him a while. 5 years in a different context can change a person's appearance. But he remembered, and he's concerned." "Concerned about what?" Lauren asked, abandoning the pretense of denial. "About why one of Delta's most decorated operational support specialists is sweeping brass at a training range under a minimally altered identity." Lauren weighed her options carefully before responding. "I left that life behind, Colonel, officially and permanently. My discharge was honorable, my paperwork is in order, and my reasons are my own." "Normally I would agree with you," Winters said. "Every veteran has the right to build a new life after service. But there's been a development that concerns your last mission, and we need to talk about it." Before Lauren could respond, her phone vibrated with a text message. She glanced at it briefly, a security alert from the system she had installed at her small off-base apartment. Someone was attempting to access her door. "I need to go," Lauren said, her tone hardening. Winters seemed to sense the change in her demeanor. "What is it?" "Nothing that concerns JSOC," Lauren replied, moving past Winters toward the door. "If you want to talk, you can contact me through official channels." "Thompson," Winters called after her. "If this is what I think it is, you're in danger. Let me help." Lauren paused at the door. "With all due respect, Colonel, the last time I trusted JSOC's help, I lost 3 teammates and gained a collection of scars. I'll handle my own problems." 20 minutes later, Lauren approached her apartment complex with caution, parking her truck 2 blocks away and approaching on foot through the wooded area that backed up to the property. The security alert had shown a man in nondescript clothing attempting to pick her lock, not a random burglar, but someone with training. The attempt had failed thanks to the reinforced door and frame she had installed when she first moved in, but the man had not left. Instead, he had moved to the rear of the building, out of camera range. Lauren circled her building, staying within the tree line as she surveyed the area. Her second-floor apartment appeared undisturbed, but her trained eye caught the subtle signs of surveillance. A car with two occupants parked with a clear view of her front door. A man reading a newspaper on a bench near the building's rear entrance. Too many people taking too much interest in a supposedly unremarkable range contractor. This wasn't random. This was connected to Winter's appearance and Westfield's recognition. Something had changed, something related to Operation Kingfisher, and now people were looking for her. Lauren retreated deeper into the woods, finding a secluded spot to think through her options. Her go-bag was in a storage locker 10 miles away. Cash, alternate ID, basic supplies for exactly this type of situation. But before she disappeared, she needed to know what was happening. Information was survival. Her phone vibrated again. Another text message, this time from an unknown number. Your apartment isn't safe. Neither is the range. Meet me at Callahan's Diner in 30 minutes if you want to know why. Winters. Lauren stared at the message, weighing the risk of a trap against the need for information. Callahan's was a public place, popular with both military and civilians, which reduced the risk of a direct confrontation. And if Winters had wanted to bring her in officially, she could have done so at the range. 28 minutes later, Lauren entered Callahan's Diner, choosing a seat with her back to the wall and a clear view of both the main entrance and the kitchen exit. She ordered coffee and waited, scanning each person who entered with the practiced assessment of someone who had spent years identifying threats in hostile environments. Colonel Winters arrived precisely on time, alone and dressed in the same civilian clothes from earlier. She spotted Lauren immediately and walked directly to her table, sliding into the booth across from her. "Thank you for coming," Winters said, signaling the waitress for coffee. "I'm here for information, not conversation," Lauren replied. "Why are people watching my apartment? What's happened with Operation Kingfisher?" Winters waited until the waitress had delivered her coffee and moved out of earshot before responding. 3 days ago, Tariq al-Zahrani was found dead in his apartment in London. The name sent a chill through Lauren. Tariq al-Zahrani, the high-value intelligence asset they had been sent to extract 5 years ago, the man whose information was supposedly so critical that it had been worth the lives of 3 Delta operators. May I-6 is calling it a suicide, Winters continued, but our analysts disagree. The timing is too convenient. Convenient for what? Lauren asked. A week ago, a journalist with the Washington Post began asking questions about a covert operation in Syria 5 years ago, specifically about whether the intelligence that prompted the operation was manufactured to eliminate a political rival of a high-ranking Syrian official who was cooperating with U.S. intelligence. The implications were clear. You're saying we were sent in on false pretenses, that my team died for a lie. We don't know for certain, Winters admitted. But al-Zahrani was the source of that intelligence, and now he's dead just as questions are being asked. Lauren's mind raced through the details of the mission she had spent years trying to forget. Who else knows about this? About me? Officially, only myself and Westfield. Your involvement in Delta operations remains classified, but someone else is clearly connecting the dots, the same someone who sent men to your apartment today. Why? Lauren demanded. I was operational support, not intelligence. I don't know anything about the source of the mission intel. But you were there, Winters pointed out. You saw what happened when the mission went wrong, and more importantly, you're the only survivor who can testify about what al-Zahrani said during the extraction. Lauren's coffee grew cold as she processed this information. Oh, I never spoke with al-Zahrani. He was unconscious when I reached him, wounded in the initial firefight. I just carried him to the extraction point. That's not in your after-action report, Winters said, studying Lauren's face carefully. Your report states that al-Zahrani was conscious and communicative during the extraction. That's not possible, Lauren insisted. I wrote that he was unconscious throughout. I never heard him speak a single word. Winters pulled a tablet from her bag and brought up a document, Lauren's after-action report with her signature at the bottom. But the content had been altered, describing conversations with al-Zahrani that had never occurred. Someone changed my report, Lauren said, the realization dawning on her, which means someone wanted the record to show that al-Zahrani provided additional intelligence during extraction, intelligence that I supposedly heard. Intelligence that could now be questioned if this journalist's theory about manufactured intel is correct, Winters concluded, and you're the only one who knows the report was falsified. The diner's ambient noise seemed to fade as Lauren processed the implications. So someone altered my report to support whatever narrative they were building around al-Zahrani's intelligence, And now that the narrative is being questioned, they need to eliminate the inconsistency. You, Winters said simply. Lauren's training kicked in, her mind automatically assessing threats and options. The men at my apartment, they're not just watching, they're waiting for me to return. Most likely, Winters agreed, which is why you need to come with me. JSOC can protect you while we investigate who altered your report and why. Lauren studied the colonel's face, looking for any sign of deception. With respect, Colonel, how do I know you're not part of this? The altered report would have gone through JSOC command. A fair question, Winters acknowledged. I could tell you to trust me, but I know that wouldn't mean much, so instead, I'll give you this. She slid a flash drive across the table. This contains the original server logs showing when your report was accessed and modified, 48 hours after you submitted it, by someone using General Marshall's credentials. Lauren's eyes widened slightly. General Robert Marshall had been the JSOC commander 5 years ago and Daniel Westfield's direct superior. Does Westfield know about this? Not yet, Winters said. I found the logs yesterday and was planning to brief him when he recognized you at the range. That changed the timeline. Lauren pocketed the flash drive. Her decision made, I'm not going to JSO. If Marshall was involved, there could be others. I need to move independently. You can't run from this, Thompson, Winters warned. These people have resources, and they've already found you once. I'm not running, Lauren clarified, but I need to verify what's on this drive before I trust anyone at JSOC. I'll contact you when I know more. Winters looked like she wanted to argue, but instead nodded reluctantly. Be careful. And Thompson, she paused, sliding a phone across the table. Use this to contact me. It's secure and untraceable. Lauren took the phone and stood to leave. One last question, Colonel. Why are you helping me? You don't know me. Winters' expression hardened slightly. Because I lost people on bad intelligence too, and because whoever altered your report and killed Al-Zarani needs to be held accountable, no matter who they are. As Lauren left the diner through the kitchen exit, avoiding the main street, her mind was already formulating a plan. She needed a secure location to review the flash drive's contents, and she needed to find out who had sent men to her apartment. But most importantly, she needed to understand what had really happened on Operation Kingfisher, what had really cost the lives of her teammates. The Delta Force tattoo on her arm seemed to burn beneath her sleeve, a reminder of both what she had lost and what she had survived. 5 years of hiding, of trying to forget, had just come to an end. Now it was time to find the truth, no matter the cost.